If you are joining on Facebook Live, thank you so much for joining. We're going to start in a couple of minutes. 1 o'clock. Almost 1 o'clock. We're going to start in a few seconds. Okay. We're almost about to start. Got some special guests today. Super excited to get this thing going. And okay, 1 o'clock, our Friday industry updates. We're talking about various topics, real estate related, directly and indirectly. And today, I have a great pleasure to have our friends from the with the LA Chargers in the SoFi Stadium. What's going to be soon the LA Stadium, and then after we're going to have Dennis Black, an eviction attorney. So first, I want to present our guests. First speakers, we have Will Wall, who's the premium sales consultant for the new stadium, and John Torres, the VP of premium sales with the LA Chargers. Hey guys, are you on the call?
Hey, pleasure to be speaking with you here, Manny. Excited to be checking in and getting you guys an update on SoFi Stadium and the Chargers and kind of what's going on here with the NFL in Los Angeles.
Sounds good. John, are you here?
I'm here, Manny. Hi, everybody. We are thrilled to be a part of this and honored that we'd be invited into this time slot. So thank you all so much for the opportunity. And I think also just from our organization to all of you and your families and your coworkers, we obviously hope that everyone's doing as well as they possibly can as we navigate all of this. And it's certainly been our mission and our responsibility that we take really seriously to approach all of this time of uncertainty with kindness and empathy for all of our partners and all of our fans. And so we're excited to share some insights with all of you today, and hopefully everybody takes away a little bit of value from this, but at the very least, everybody's got a point of contact or two in this case with our team and our organization. So thank you, Manny, for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Of course. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So, you guys have a lot of updates in the both Chargers and the new stadium in Inglewood. It's a big deal. It's a massive project, super exciting about what you guys are doing. So how about you gonna just take us through a couple of those things that you want to talk about and share with us today?
Sure, and we're going to have Will Wall. So just so you all know, Will won't toot his own horn, but Will's been with our organization for almost 3 years now. Was born and raised a Chargers fan, so we're really excited to have Will representing our brand and represent our organization in settings like this routinely, especially in the business community. And Will's had a tremendous amount of success helping welcome so many new Chargers fans into the family as we've made this move up from San Diego to playing in StubHub Center, Dignity Health Sports Park the last couple of years, and now moving into literally the world's greatest stadium and the world's most expensive stadium and the world's largest stadium. And so there's a lot of things to be excited about, a lot of intricacies that will have varying impacts on different key stakeholders of ours and the community overall. But I think what we'll do is we'll have Will, I think he's going to share his screen here shortly. But before we do that, we'd love to show a couple of videos that some of you may have seen pushed out in social over the last month or so if you're in tune to what the Chargers or what the NFL are doing. But we were one of a handful of NFL teams this offseason to do two things. Number one, a brand refresh with updated logos and kind of a new treatment as we really kind of try to encompass what it means to be an LA franchise. And then also, some of you may have seen the recent uniform updates that we made. We were one of 5 NFL teams to launch new uniforms or uniform modifications this offseason. And so our hope is that everybody feels like we took the best uniforms already in the NFL and made them just a little bit better. But we'll show a couple of videos to get everybody kind of up to speed on some of the things that we're doing as we really assimilate into the LA community and the market. And then Will's going to take us through the stadium virtually on a tour. So I think we'll jump in if that's okay, Manny.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it. Good job.
So Manny, I think you have that first video queued up on your end. If you can go ahead and play that first video.
Sure. Okay, let me just set it up over here, and then I'll share that. Can you see my screen?
Charger football is exciting football.
Yeah.
You haven't seen anything yet.
Manny, I think we lost your sound.
Okay.
What's happening, Chargers fans? If you guys want to see some more, click right here. Simple.
Did you lose my sound first?
We lost a little bit of the sound there, but what we were kind of introducing there, guys, and John will kind of tell you a little bit more about it, is kind of the Chargers' new branding that we've kind of released here, and it kind of goes right in tail with the next video that we'll play in a moment as well on the jerseys. But I'll let John go ahead and chime in a little bit here on the new brand of the Chargers.
Yeah, you won't see too much of a difference for those of you who are Chargers fans or have just been NFL fans paying attention. Like we've got a pretty iconic brand in terms of our color scheme and how we fit into Southern California. We made some slight modifications to the bolt. We eliminated one of the colors, which was navy, from our color palette, which really kind of accentuates some of the sunshine gold and the powder blue that everybody has kind of fallen in love with. And we've really just tried to make sure that whenever you see our logo, whenever you see our name, it's always in motion. The Chargers are always charging forward, always in motion. And so you'll always see kind of that stance or that tint for those of you who are interested in marketing. We've always tried to make sure that we are always positioned as a fun, vibrant, exciting brand. You see some of the treatments to the bolt eye emojis that we've created and some of those other things if you follow us on social, which, by the way, not just because I work for the club, I've worked for 12 different for 5 different sports teams over the last 12 years. And I can tell you that in the era of social media, we've got one of the most engaging and fun social media teams. And so we're a pretty good follow on all social media channels. So I'd encourage everybody to give us a follow coming out of this to really get more in tune with what we're doing, not just with the brand and the NFL, but in the community as well, especially as we navigate COVID-19 and the pandemic and its impact on all of our lives. So that's a quick just blurb around the brand refresh. I mean, it's important for us to, kind of honor our heritage of being we were actually originally in LA for a year, for those of you who don't know, before making the move down to San Diego. And as we moved back up, really wanted to take a look at how do we refresh the brand. And then you see the image here of our new uniform palettes. And so I think we're going to play one more video that kind of highlights the uniform maturation, and then we'll show off the stadium a little bit.
Cool. Yeah. Just let me know if the sound is going again just a bit off. So I'll try to do my best over here. There we go.
Well, you haven't seen anything yet.
Since 1960, we've been rolling out some of the best uniforms in the game. Like this one, and who could forget this one? Think we can't top those? Think again. Because this is about doing something bold, fearless, taking something you love and bringing it back to life. But how do you improve on perfection? First, you start with the design process.
Taking inspiration from the subtle curvature of the bolt. We analyze the ratio of underpinning on bolt and method crafting.
Nah, who cares? All you need to know is we took the best, made it better. See? Told ya.
That's awesome. Okay, back to you guys.
So just real quick, we saw some of the really simplified uniform monikers. And I don't know, Manny, can you put the photo of all 6 uniforms back up again that you had as part of your deck?
Yep.
Thank you. So these are our 6 combinations for this year. I think everybody that you talk to might have a different favorite or a different preference, but our home uniform is going to be the one that you see in the middle that's mocked up with Joey Bosa with the powder blue top and the white pants. The other primary is going to be the one right next to it with the powder blue top and the sunshine gold pants. It's really designed to accentuate and highlight the bolts. It's actually, if you guys look at it, if Joey was down in his 3-point or 4-point stance, you'd actually, because of the lightning bolts being more prominent on the shoulder pads, which typically there was this paneling on the outside of the bolt, which kind of, I guess, muted the intensity of the actual lightning bolt. But if he were down in his stance, you'd actually see between the helmet and the shoulders 4 lightning bolts pointed right at you. And so pretty cool image for opposing players to look at when they're playing against us. Those are our main uniforms. The all whites have been extremely popular. And then we've got our royal combination on the far left. And then I think a lot of people have really been reacting positively. I know the players have too. If you see, for those of you who are actually going to follow our social media channels, you'll actually see some of the player reactions to the jerseys when they saw them the first times. And with Keenan Allen on the far right with the Navy Color Rush uniform, that's been a really popular option for us. So we'll roll that out for the Color Rush games. And you can't really see it on this image, but the bolt has actually been treated in an all navy as well. And so the uniforms are cleaner, they're simpler, they're really focused on motion and really cleaning up the lightning bolts. But look, we're excited for our fans who have all reacted really positively to the brand refresh and to the updates to the uniforms. We've seen a huge spike in merchandise sales even over the last month and a half, and the draft also accentuated that with the additions that we made with the team and jerseys and all those types of things. But we're excited about it. I think Will hears it more than I do on the front lines, talking to our season ticket members and to the business community. But everything that we're trying to do with this new stadium being best in class, best in the world, we're trying to match that too. And so you look at the way that we are updating our brand, the way that we're creating value for our season ticket members, value for our fans overall. It's all with the mindset of trying to be world class with everything that we do. And so I guess with that, Manny, if it's okay, we'd love to have Will take the group through a tour of the Hollywood Park Entertainment District as well as SoFi Stadium and show everybody around a little bit of our new home.
Awesome. Good job. Thank you.
Just want to confirm, is everybody able to see my screen here with the SoFi Stadium in the background?
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. And, again, thanks, John, for the introduction and Manny as well. Again, I can only imagine looking into 4 lightning bolts coming, looking straight at me and hard to not get charged up thinking about something like that. So what we'll look at today, guys, in general is just going to be a recap of what it is that the Chargers are moving into. So aside from the excitement from the free agency, from the NFL draft, and obviously from the jerseys, a lot of the excitement for the organization is hinged upon this brand new stadium experience that we're going to be able to offer to our fans here across Los Angeles and across the country. And again, really that contingence is based upon this contingency in this stadium and this kind of development here. And when you do look, we are talking about an entire 300 acres of development, which, again, in terms of a total size and scope of the project, really likens it to about the size of a Disneyland. And if you flash back, call it a couple decades ago, when Disneyland landed here in Anaheim in Los Angeles, it really shifted the transition of Los Angeles and Anaheim in general as a entertainment destination. And really, this stadium is going to fall right along those lines as well, being that this is a $5 billion stadium. It's going to really be the entertainment, sports, technology, the intersection of really kind of all of those features. And for you guys, being the realtors right on the ground level here in Los Angeles, being aware of this project and the magnitude of the project is important. And knowing that we are going to have about 1,500 to 3,500 homes being built here on our 300-acre district, again, that's affecting home prices throughout the Los Angeles area. And with our homes, those are part of our third phase of the project coming a little bit later. But really, when you look at this stadium, the district is going to be what allows our fans to come out year-round and enjoy an experience here at the stadium. So whether your clients live in LA or are flying out, you'll have a hotel right here on site that looks over directly into that stadium and into the building there. That's going to look across our parkland. So there's about 25 acres of parkland right here in the center of this district, which will connect our hotel to our retail to the commercial and right on into that $5 billion event space there, the SoFi Stadium. So for people here in West LA, and when I say West LA, really everything kind of left to the west of the 405 freeway, really our closest mall is probably going to be the Grove up in Hollywood. And again, when you take a look at the footprint of, say, the Grove, or even for comparison, the LA Live down in downtown LA, what we're building out here dwarfs those projects. So, again, the retail district here is going to be anywhere from about 2.5 to 3 times the size of the Grove, which means bars, restaurants, community meeting locations, open air and outdoor movie plazas and screening cinemas. We've actually announced our first 3 tenants here on the district. The first being Inglewood's own Three Weavers Brewing Company. They're moving their second location here onto our district. Cinepolis will be our movie theater chain, and they offer an in-seat food and beverage service during their movie theater experience, so you can order your food and beverage while you sit in your seat. And then a local Long Beach-based gym, which again goes with the local presence here of our community. Most of the tenants here that we're going to be moving in are shorter term leases, not going to be a Kmart or a Sears anchor tenant here on our district, but more of unique local brands and local experiences. So if you haven't had the Charger Burger or the Ram Taco, this is where you would come down to experience those. And while those aren't actually in existence yet, maybe that would be something that, again, you would find down here unique to this district. So directly north of the retail is our commercial district, and that is going to include our first tenant, which is the NFL Network. Really exciting. They've been located up in Culver City for the past couple of decades, and while they've been landlocked in their building, technology, social media, Twitter, all of these medias have kind of grown, and the NFL Network has not been able to grow with them. And this is going to allow them to have a 365-day presence here in our community, where your customers, our fans, can come out and engage the NFL year round. So, whether it's that Dallas Cowboy fan coming out in the middle of the summer to see Jerry Jones and Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith talk about, the Cowboys in the 80s and 90s, or maybe it's a San Francisco 49er fan coming down, hearing from Steve Young, Joe Montana, and Jerry Rice. This is, again, a year-round event space where the NFL can really kind of engage and interact with our fans throughout the course of the year. Again, when you do look here at the district, what's really kind of driving the scope and size of this project is the fact that this event space is going to be used year-round. Again, outside of our 20 NFL games, this district is going to play host to the Super Bowl, which is coming back to Los Angeles in 2022, the NCAA Championship in 2023, the Olympics 2028. There's bids in for the World Cup, NBA Finals, and All-Star Game appearances, and award shows, NBA drafts, you name it. They are coming here to this district and coming to West LA in a way that has never really happened before. Again, looking here at the district, knowing that we have 300 acres, how do you get out here? And that's really what's kind of important for us is why we built this right here in Inglewood, and knowing that we have such close proximity to the LAX airport and obviously to private wealth airlines as well with Santa Monica, Hawthorne, and Torrance. But for us, Los Angelinos who are coming out to this stadium, building in Inglewood offers a unique experience for everybody to come from their own distinct route. If you're in the Valley or Malibu, you can come down the 405. Up in the Calabasas office with many, that's your route. And if you're down in Long Beach, you're probably going to come up the 405 conversely and still be able to exit at one of those two thoroughfare streets there. And our fans in Pasadena and Riverside and across LA County are going to be able to approach this stadium in their own distinct fashion. And really we'll even have the 10 freeway above us with La Cienega, La Brea, and Crenshaw exits as well. Looking here at the stadium, public transit is a very important part of the process for us as well, and making sure that our fans that aren't driving but coming out via public transit can get here as well. And, again, knowing that we're working with rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft in advance of opening the stadium is going to allow us to really, cater to those people and their needs. And again, with public metro access as well, we'll have a connecting line from the Green Line up on the 105 freeway. There's a bid in place to connect us into the Crenshaw line to the north, and a bid to connect us into the LAX People Mover, which again would make a really West LA hub for Metro here at our stadium site. So again, connectivity, very important, and making sure that our fans from all over LA are really able to come out here and experience this one-of-a-kind experience at SoFi Stadium. Now, the stadium itself, outside of the district, the stadium is impressive as well. It's a $5 billion stadium that really is going to change sporting and entertainment experiences. As John mentioned earlier, this is the largest stadium being built in the country right now, bigger than Jerry's World out in Dallas. And again, when you look, this building in and of itself is severely impressive. So the roof is the first thing that stands out. And I know over the past couple of decades, the retractable roof has been something of great importance and kind of, seen prevalently throughout stadium design. Well, this stadium, this is actually the world's largest open air covered venue. And what that means is, these pillars that support that roof, they do just that. They support the roof. And while the roof is full time and non-retractable, those pillars do allow for a natural breeze to flow in and out of this stadium. So while you are covered by that roof, you're still very much outdoors. And we pay the big bucks to live out here in California, Southern California especially. And again, we're not shoveling snow on the way into our ball games. So we did want to have an outdoor fan experience. But as we all know, here in LA, it can get a little bit warm. And on the occasion that it does rain, most of LA seems to kind of shut down, and having this roof will allow us to stay open. So, we had Sir Paul McCartney play at Dodger Stadium a couple of months ago during the summer, and typically those concert, promoters are booking those dates knowing that those days in the summer are low chance of rain. Well, here again, having that rooftop will allow us to book, those types of concerts and events really year round here on our district. The stadium roof is actually made out of a substance. It's called ETFE. And that's a polymer that when the sun hits this roof, 50 to 65% of the UV rays are going to be deflected back out. And what that means is, our fans that are sitting inside and underneath that roof versus a fan out in the district is going to feel anywhere from 5 to 12 degrees cooler as a result of, no UV or limited UV exposure and a natural breeze that's able to come right through there. Again, this roof does look very see-through and clear, translucent, almost like a piece of glass or plastic. That's that ETFE material. And again, that is a very strong polymer that will allow our fans to really comfortably sit in that stadium environment. You will see the district as a whole here. And again, you can kind of see our northern neighbor, the Forum up there just above us, as well as the NFL Network building, the hotel, and kind of the retail site here. And you can get an idea of, as big as 300 acres sounds, getting from this hotel, getting up to this stadium, going from a bar or restaurant by that NFL Network building and into this entrance, as big as it seems, the distance between one corner and the other is really about a 5 to 7 minute stroll. The last thing I do want to point out here is the slope here, the roof does come down into this triangle here. And again, this is a separate structure. It's actually a 6,000 to 7,000 seat performance arts venue, which will allow us to, host anything from an Inglewood High School graduation to a Grammys, an NFL draft, which was just hosted virtually over the weekend, movie premieres, award shows, you name it. And, John can attest, when I first started with the project, I was living in Hollywood, and I used to live right on Hollywood and Highland, and right next to me was the Dolby Theater, and I'd call, my manager every couple of weeks and let him know, hey man, I'm not going to be to work on time today. There's a 90-foot dinosaur outside of my building. And, aside from the laugh that we had together, it became pretty repetitive that, one day there'd be a 90-foot dinosaur, and then, the next month you're talking about the Avengers movie ship. Well, this is a place where we can build out that 90-foot dinosaur covered by the roof, which again, Hollywood can't do on the middle of the street. And at the same time, we have, our valet and general parking right nearby, which, again, is something that would be hard pressed to find up in a Hollywood or downtown venue. So looking here, parking is a big thing for us, and we understand that bringing 70,000 people out for a Charger game on a Sunday, you are going to need to have an abundance of parking. And here on our 300-acre district alone, we have up to about 10,500 parking spots. The NFL average is about 3.4 bodies per car, which means, upward of about 35,000 fans able to park in close proximity to our stadium. Even those fans that are looking to save a couple of bucks and maybe, park across the street, you're going to be able to do that as well at options like the Forum or at several of our park and walk or park and shuttle options. So again, know that having as many fans out as we are, parking is definitely something that is in our plans to make sure that we can conveniently and easily get out here. I did mention Disneyland earlier, and really when you think of Disneyland, you think of an organized chaos. When you arrive, if your daughter loves the mermaids or your kid really likes this ride, you can star those on the app and know exactly how long and what route would be the quickest to get to each of those individual locations. The same will be, said here on our district. You can go be at a Charger game and, maybe you've starred one of those restaurants or something here in the district that you do want to experience. And when you're on your way out of that game, you might get a buzz from your phone that lets you know, hey, you starred this restaurant here and you expressed interest in going and having that, food item. Well, our traffic is showing that right now, if you leave the game, it's going to take you about 35 minutes to get home. And if you do go experience that food and beverage item, we have a half off voucher for you. And that shows that you can get home in about 17 minutes after your meal. So again, integrated in with technology here, really making sure that our fans have a door-to-door experience when they're coming out for NFL football here at our stadium. Now, the last thing I want to show you is when you do look here at the stadium, the building itself and the ground level where the players are playing is two separate locations. So when you walk in here at ground level of Inglewood, the players themselves are actually playing 110 feet below ground level. And what that does is a couple of things. One, it provides stability as we're closer down into the ground. But what it really means is, when you give your clients a set of seats and they're going out to enjoy that football game, there's a good probability that they're going to be walking in and walking down to get closer to the stadium, closer to the field, and closer to that football experience, which is something that we're really proud of here as well. To give you guys an idea of what that really looks like, we'll take a look at the side screen here, the stadium, and again, this would be if it were cut directly here in half. And you can see these clouds and the kind of trees and skyline out here through these open airways of the pillars here, and that's outside. So the Inglewood ground level is right in between the 200 and 300 level. And again, that does mean these players are playing down significantly lower on the playing field. You'll see the roof here for the first time, and again, this is a translucent see-through roof, so it looks like glass or plastic. And although the UV rays, majority of those will be deflected, you will still get that natural sunlight and very much feel like you're at an outdoor football game. You'll see the video board here in the middle as well. And as John mentioned, the stadium, the video board, just about everything's bigger in Dallas except for here in this instance, where this video board is larger than the video board in Dallas as well. And it's actually oval in shape, and it runs sideline to sideline and end zone to end zone, about 125 yards long, actually. And this will allow our fans in the upper level seats to look into the video bowl and feel like they have a great experience, as well as our lower level fans to look up and inside for their video experiences. So, again, wherever you are in the stadium, if you're here for a concert, Taylor Swift, Kenny Chesney, WrestleMania, wherever you're at, you're going to have an unparalleled view of your video highlights. So, standard stadium experience, when you're looking up for a replay or a highlight, you're looking out into the end zone for that replay. And here it's going to be, smack dab right in front of you, no matter where you are in the building. And again, looking here at this outer ring, if you're in these lower seats, that's really like, a row one movie theater experience. That would hurt your neck. This outer ring here is actually for our fans in the upper levels of the stadium so that they too can feel like, again, I have that NFL view right there in front of me instead of having to look out over into the, one of the end zones for one of the replays or highlights. So
hey,
looking
Will,
here.
just real quick, this is great. For those of you who may have seen it already on social, yesterday, Bleacher Report posted a video that one of the construction workers at SoFi took and posted online. It'll give you a really good look at the Oculus video board being tested with video. It's incredible to look at. And, Will and I have both had the fortunate opportunity to tour and go through and take people through the construction side as this thing is built. But that was one of the first videos that's been released to actually show what the production value of the Oculus ring is going to be. So I would encourage everybody, just Google it. If you just Google Chargers, SoFi Stadium, Oculus, it'll be one of the first things you show up. But it's on the Bleacher Report site, and it wasn't intended to go out, but it's out there publicly, so we're talking about it, and it's very impressive.
And truly it is. When you talk about a video board in an NFL stadium, there's really nothing like this. As it stands right now, the video board is currently all the way down on the field level, so it hasn't been raised into place yet. And as John mentioned, they turned this thing on for the first time the other day. And, again, it looks like you are actually, they had a safari video playing in the background, and it looks like you're out there in Africa, in the safari, in the trees. This thing is 4K quality in video, which, again, there's no video board in the NFL like it, which really means that you're going to see a Keenan Allen catch a touchdown pass here at the 5-yard line and run all the way down 95 yards for a touchdown, and you'd see that player do that same motion on this video board and literally see that bead of sweat drip from his face in a digital experience that is unparalleled in sports. And, the last thing we'll kind of talk about is looking at this stadium here. It's really set up in an NFL environment. So whereas the Coliseum, Qualcomm back in San Diego for the Chargers, and StubHub Center, Dignity Health Sports Park, those were all, stadiums that were meant for other uses. And here at this stadium, we really have exclusive spaces where you can experience football in a way that fans across the country at these other $1 million stadiums are able to do as well. So, example, imagine, bringing a client down here, and if you're sitting in these seats, you can actually, go to this bar with this young lady at this bar and walk out a set of glass doors, and you're in this patio right at the end zone. So, again, you imagine the Lambeau Leap in Green Bay, it's something that's known across the country. Well, maybe this is going to be the Chargers Splash, or, the Chargers Lightning Deck, where that player kind of jumps in and charges up our fans with that experience. And again, that is right there in the end zone, right behind the field goals, in a place that you can't go anywhere else in Los Angeles. And, even when you tune in for the Super Bowl, you'll notice on the sidelines, there's all the fans that are right there behind those players. And same thing here at our stadium. We're going to have this unique experience where you can walk in, enjoy some food and beverage, watch the post-game interview as it happens in this, kind of closed door glass area, and literally, bring a client, bring a family member, bring a friend, and, get down as close to this NFL player as you've ever done. And literally, again, walk out a set of glass doors and you are on the field in that field environment. And so, what we'd like to do is I'm going to kick it back over to John, and we do have our seat memberships available right now at the stadium, and we are kind of excited as right now, we are going to be the first fans that get to experience this building. And, I know many and a couple of the other agents in Keller Williams have already, made the commitment to join us here for the new stadium. But I'll kick it over to John, and we'd love to see, some more of the members, kind of join us here and kick off 2020 with us as well.
Thank you, Will. Great job. I think first and foremost, look, I mean, we're really excited about this new building, the new district, everything that it represents for football fans, Chargers fans, NFL fans, the like. I think during this time with everything going on, we want to be empathetic and kind during this time. And so while we still have seen a lot of people jump on board the last couple of months, we understand that everybody's kind of going at their own pace. And so just as you all probably work with your clients and everybody's got different needs and different preferences for the homes they're buying, it's the same thing with us. And so what we encourage everybody to do who has any kind of inkling of being interested in something like this is to reach out to Will. I think there's going to be a mechanism after this, Will, where you and many can get your information out to the group. But we can host virtual one-on-one showings of SoFi Stadium and the various options that we have, even for business use, for personal use, a combination thereof. Really no strings attached. It's more of an educational piece that's a little bit of a deeper dive than what Will did today is kind of a broad overview. But if and when any of you are ready to jump on board or have questions around what's a seat license look like, what is a season ticket membership, what does it mean, what's the extra value that I get for being part of the Chargers Bolt Fam season ticket membership, we're here to help, and we're here to give you all the information that you want to make a well-informed decision for when the time is right, if it is right for you to consider something like this. And so that's about as hard of a pitch as you'll get from us, especially with everything going on. We want to be really understanding of everybody's initiatives and everyone's concerns. But right now we're planning on as early as next week is the NFL schedule being released for the 2020 season, and we just came off the draft. And so we're very excited about what the opening of this building means for football and what we can do in terms of adding value to all of our members. And so please reach out to Will, book a one-on-one kind of personal consultation. We'll probably ask you a few questions so we can navigate this the right way to make sure that we have the right fit for everybody individually to consider, because it's not really a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter type of presentation that you'll experience. It's much more kind of curated to your own individual desires and what you're looking to get out of it. So next week on Thursday, we're going to have a virtual town hall. It's the second one that we're going to do. It's exclusive for our season ticket members. So all of our season ticket members will have access to do a private Zoom meeting similar to this. It won't be broadcast on Facebook, but it'll be with our GM, Tom Telesco, our president and owner, John Spanos, and our head of player personnel, talking through the recent free agency acquisitions that we have and free agency overall, as well as a deep dive into Justin Herbert and the rest of our 2020 draft class that we brought on board to the Chargers, plus some of the undrafted free agents, 19 of them that we signed over the last week. And so that's an exclusive opportunity just for season ticket members. Anybody here that takes Will up on the opportunity to book a personal walkthrough will get access to join us for that experience. And then we also work with all of our new season ticket members to find ways to say thank you. And so whether it's an autographed jersey, football, some sort of VIP experience, we'll work with all of you individually to figure out what makes sense in terms of a thank you gift and a welcome gift for joining the Bolt fam. And so I'd encourage everybody, even if you're a little bit interested, please reach out to Will. He'll take great care of you, and anything that we can do to help make your guys' business successful or to add some value to your personal lives through football, we are more than willing to do so and try to be as flexible and nimble as possible. And we just so happen to have the advantage of the world's greatest stadium at our disposal to do that for you. So I think that's as much of a sales pitch as you'll get from us. We hope you guys will engage with Will and take advantage of it. And whatever we can do to help you, please let us know. But thank you all for the opportunity.
Awesome job, guys.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah, of course. And I did share the link that you gave me, Will, on the Facebook as well. So, feel free to reach out to Will. Will Wall, John Torres, guys, thank you so much for sharing that amazing information, and I can't wait to check out the stadium in person.
Neither can we.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manny, we're excited. Again, like I said, we're keeping in touch, and as soon as we can get you guys and all of your offices down onto the ground, we can't wait to get you guys filled up in some buses and get you down some boots on the ground and actually experience this thing in person. All right?
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you so much, and
Thank
good
you,
luck.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Good job. That was the LA Chargers and the new LA Stadium update. And now we're going to jump to a different subject. We're going to have Dennis Black, an eviction attorney with Dennis Black and Associates. And we'll talk about some other stuff that are, part of what we are experiencing. Dennis, do we have you on the line? Oh, we cannot hear you, Dennis. Hold on. Let's make sure you're unmuted. Can you try to unmute yourself, Dennis? Hold on. It's in your end. Try just to unmute yourself, Dennis, on your end. No, we cannot hear you.
I am unmuted.
Okay, there we go. Now we can hear you.
You should be able to hear me.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, well, listen, if that bar is open at that stadium, I'm ready to go today.
I bet.
So
You'll see me down there. Let's go,
Hey.
right?
I'm ready. I haven't been to a bar in a long time now, based on what's going on out there. Anyway, Manny, I want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to address the people out there. Obviously, my law practice deals with income property owners, landlords. Our main emphasis, obviously, is on tenant eviction, and of course, my industry, our industry, has obviously been affected by this pandemic, as every industry has. The problem is that normally what happens is that industries are affected by the pandemic, but unfortunately with income property owners, it's the politicians that are affecting our industry. We have it where, and if you think this out logically, where our government is forcing income property owners to become financial institutions with the requirement to give interest-free loans. Now, where on our planet Earth does government impose these types of regulations on a business segment of society? It doesn't exist. But yet, that's exactly what they're doing in California with regard to income property owners. So let's go over that. Let's talk about what the government is imposing upon income property owners, what limitations exist for landlords to enforce their rights, and maybe with a little help, I can give some suggestions as what we can do. It starts out where most municipalities, well, actually, it starts out with the Governor Newsom, who did an emergency order. This was on March 26th. And basically what this emergency order did was it elongated the time period for which an eviction could take place, gave tenants an extra 3 months, or prevented landlords from going through an eviction case without a delay of 3 months. He also did something else, and that is he let individual municipalities create their own eviction protection rules. So by doing that, he opened up the floodgates to every municipality, without exception almost, that has created rules dealing with evictions. And for example, in the city of Los Angeles, if a tenant hasn't paid rent, and if the reason why the tenant hasn't paid rent is COVID-19 related, that it's directly related to his ability to pay, then in that situation, the tenant will have, and believe it or not, in Los Angeles, 1 year to pay back that rent that was deferred, 1 year. So if, for example, your tenant came to you in April, and now, of course, we're going to see the floodgates open for the month of May, and if the tenant says that he was affected by the pandemic, lost his job, then that rent is deferred for April and May, and the tenant for Los Angeles will have 1 year to pay back rent. Well, I don't know about what most people think, but you can just imagine that they might as well call it free rent, because where are landlords really going to be able to come back and get rent after 1 year? Either the tenant's going to move away, or it's just going to be an impossible task. So the politicians, while they called it rent deferment, what they really should have been was rent free, because that's really what's going to happen. And I don't know how many landlords with their mortgage payments are going to be able to keep afloat during this time. Some jurisdictions like West Hollywood and Santa Monica, Culver City, talked about a 6-month period, though I think Culver City just recently changed to 1 year. But most of the municipalities allow 6 months rent deferment, where after the 6 months, you would then be able to ask your tenant for the money, but you wouldn't be able to, for example, bring forth an eviction case because the rent is deferred, so therefore it's not due for that 6-month or 1 month period. Now, some of the jurisdictions require that you actually show some sort of proof that you lost your job, that you are housebound because you have a sick family member, some proof of that. In Los Angeles, and I know unincorporated areas of LA County specifically state, you don't have to show any proof. All you have to do is say, hey, you know what, I lost my job. I don't have to show you any proof. And the fact that they can allow you to do that means that it's just fraught with people who are going to stand up and say, I don't want to pay the rent. Even if you're a moral person and you believe in the exercise of the law and of contract rights, but quite frankly, if you see all your neighbors who are going to work every day and they're claiming that they don't have the money to pay the rent, and then you've been doing this for a couple of months, God knows that after a while you're going to say, you know what, it's enough. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop paying the rent, and I'll use the pandemic as an excuse. Now, no one is saying that society has been upended by this pandemic. No one is going to argue against that thought process. My problem with this is that you're having landlords pay for it. Well, where does that come in, that landlords have to shoulder this interest-free loan for 6 months to 1 year? On what basis is this solely being put on the backs of landlords? If the politicians want to take care of tenants who legitimately, hey, I'm a cook in a restaurant, I'm a food server, if that's the case, then let the politicians pay for it. Let them issue rent vouchers, just like our federal government's doing for small businesses. But to sit there and say that the landlords have no way to gain income for this period of time is insanity. And it certainly goes against the tenements of what our society was based on. And no other country is creating this kind of a void where one segment, income property owners, now have to sit there and float interest-free loans whether they have the money or not. And as some clients were saying, you have tenants during this time period where you have problems with your property. Something goes wrong. Can the landlord say, well, you know what, you're not paying the rent, so therefore I'm not going to fix this item for you, even though it's legitimately a job that I have. But of course, under the law, the landlord has every obligation to make repairs, minor repairs, major repairs. The landlord has to pay for the trash and the sewer. The landlord has to pay utilities. The landlord has to pay his mortgage payment. And the landlord has to pay his property taxes. So where does that money come? You have a lot of landlords that obviously have high mortgages, and that's their business model, and that's the way they own a lot of property, but it's based on the fact that your rents are going to be paid. If your rents aren't paid, then there's no way that you're going to be able to stay in business, and you're going to see foreclosure after foreclosure because there's no relief from the government. The government's just putting this on the landlord. But as bad as what I'm talking about is with regard to the municipalities creating this 6-month to 1 year deferment where the landlords solely have to respond to this, it gets much worse. If that's possible, but of course it is possible. On April 6th, 2020, the California Judicial Council for the state of California issued emergency rules of how the courts should conduct themselves. Now, most people say, what the hell is the Judicial Council? And the Judicial Council is appointed by the courts to create the efficiency of running the courts. It's an arm of the California Supreme Court, and it's fostered in our Constitution. It doesn't give them any rights to create new laws, but on April 6th, what they did was they created new laws. So we're not just talking about what the individual municipalities have done. We now also have to concern ourselves what the Judicial Council has done. So what did they do? They stated that if in fact you have a lawsuit that is legitimate to be filed, you can file that lawsuit. It's called an unlawful detainer, an eviction lawsuit, but they will not issue a summons. So if in fact you can have a lawsuit filed, but you can't issue a summons, it means that the lawsuit's stalled. It means that you can't serve your tenant, which means that you can't proceed forward with the eviction case. And it makes no difference whether it's COVID-19 related or not. So let's pretend that you have a tenant, and I could give you example after example, where a tenant rented a house on Mulholland Drive in the city of Los Angeles. The rent is $55,000 per month. I kid you not. I'm currently doing this case. And the tenant, as of January, when he qualified for this property, had $4 million in a bank account. Now, under the law, with regard to the city of Los Angeles, you have to demonstrate an inability to pay the rent. Well, clearly, if you have $4 million in a bank account, even if you lost your job, you still have a great ability to pay your rent. So in that situation, based on the rules of the city of Los Angeles, I'd be able to go forward with my eviction lawsuit. It's not an impediment because it wasn't based on COVID-19 and an inability to pay the rent. For God's sakes, I've got $4 million in a bank account. It's basically like trying to preserve your capital versus the landlord's capital. So, of course, this tenant didn't want to pay the rent and blamed the pandemic on the reason why he wasn't paying. So normally we would have gone forward with that lawsuit. But you see, the Judicial Council's rules don't have any discrimination with regard to the pandemic. It's any unlawful detainer complaint can be filed, but they're not issuing a summons. So in that situation, even though this tenant has no basis for not paying the rent, in that basis, my eviction case is stalled. We can't go forward with that case. There is no basis of us now serving that tenant with the lawsuit. I have another house that we're dealing in Beverly Hills, $27,500. These figures roll off my tongue. And in that case, the guy took the premises as of February, and then as of March starts blaming it on the pandemic as to why he's not paying the rent. So you can see the abuse that has been created by the Judicial Council that, in my opinion, doesn't have any basis of creating new laws, but new laws they did create, stating that we cannot issue a summons. They also went further to say that if I did have a lawsuit filed, and I do have a summons already issued, that if I've served the tenant, I can't take a default. And if I have a trial date, the trial date's going to be canceled, and I'm going to have to wait an additional 60 days. These are all based on emergency rules by the Judicial Council issued on April 6th. But they did something else. They stated that these rules will terminate when the governor declares that the pandemic is over. So as awful as that is, at least when the pandemic is over, and that would be declared by the governor, then we would be able to proceed forward with these cases. But the answer is no. That's not what they did. They did state that these rules will terminate and we'll be able to bring forth eviction actions, but only when the governor declares the pandemic is over and an additional 90 days. An additional 90 days after the pandemic is over, we are now first allowed to file a lawsuit. So now we have to do the math. Let's pretend we're in the city of Los Angeles and the tenant brought you no paperwork, just said, hey, I lost my job, I'm not paying. So he doesn't pay you for March, and he doesn't pay you for April, and of course he doesn't pay you for May. All based on the pandemic. In the city of Los Angeles, once that pandemic is over, and we're going to pretend that it's over June 1st, then the tenant's going to have 1 year to pay back those 3 months. So that means those 3 months wouldn't be payable until June 1st, 2021. But let's move on. On June 1st, that tenant will owe you June's rent, assuming the governor declares that the pandemic is over. And I'm going to be able to issue a 3-day notice, at least for the June's rent. And then I'm going to want to file a lawsuit. But you see, and just for the June, we know that March, April, and May are deferred for 1 year. But at least as to June, the pandemic is over. Let me move forward with my cases. They're going to serve a 3-day notice. The 3 days are going to come and go. And then what? If I file a lawsuit, I still can't get a summons. Because remember, the Judicial Council rule says that these emergency rules terminate only 3 months after the pandemic is over, which means that if you're doing the math here, 3 months from June 1st, assuming that's the magic day, which means I wouldn't be able to get into court June, July, August. I wouldn't be able to get into court until September 1. So now what we're dealing with is a tenant who hasn't paid rent for March, April, and May. That's deferred for 1 year. And now he didn't pay June, July, or August anyway. Why? Why should he pay it? If you saw a sign on the freeway that said speed limit 65 miles per hour, and then underneath that sign there was another note that said, but by the way, we're not going to enforce this, who's going to go 65 miles an hour? Everybody's going to go any speed they like at that point. And if you know, Mr. or Mrs. Tenant, that you're not going to be able to be evicted even for rent lawfully owed for June or July or August, why would you pay the rent? So what we're having here, if we're doing the math, is the tenant hasn't paid rent for March, April, and May, June, July, and August, and now comes our big day, ladies and gentlemen. On September 1, the courts are now going to finally issue a summons, and I can now start my eviction case. But now let's think about it. How many tenants excuse me, how many landlords and landlord attorneys are going to be filing lawsuits on September 1? That's going to be when the floodgates open. And when those floodgates open, you're going to literally have thousands and thousands of landlords filing lawsuits. And how long is it going to take to get your case from the beginning of that case to the end where a sheriff is actually going to do a lockout for you? The courts are going to be so overburdened at the very minimum, and even though most eviction cases take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, my guess is that it's going to take about 6 months. 6 months from September 1 before you finally have your sheriff showing up to do a lockout. And what does that mean? That means, ladies and gentlemen, that your tenant lived there for 1 year for free, will eventually be evicted off the property, and then most judgments, or it's difficult to collect on these judgments, especially if your tenant doesn't have any wherewithal, which meant that you lost 1 year's worth of income. I predict that you're going to see in the state of California that landlords are not going to be able to withstand losing rent for that period of time. These buildings are going to go down. And this is all on the backs of the Judicial Council and other municipalities that are going to prevent landlords from enforcing their contract rights. On what basis can you go into Costco and say, hey, I'm going to take all this food with me, and you know what? Call me in a year and I'll pay for it. Or I'm going to go into a gas station because I need gas, or I need baby formula, or any other necessity in life. And you say to that retailer, I'm going to take this product and I'll pay you in 1 year. Where is that written in our Constitution, that people basically can just steal services and you're having it authorized by our state and local governments? Where is that written? And the answer is it's not written. So what are we doing in this situation? Well, we've come up with a plan. It's not foolproof, but we have come up with a plan. And what we're doing for our clients, for example, that person with the house being rented for $55,000 or even small rents, but what we're doing is if the tenant hasn't demonstrated or given no demonstration as to the reason why he's paid the rent, why he hasn't paid the rent, what we're doing is we're filing lawsuits. Now, people are going to say, yeah, you can file them, but they're not issuing a summons. So what the hell good is that going to do for you? And the answer is it really does a lot. And I'll tell you why. Because once we have that lawsuit filed, we have a case number. And then what we do is we send that lawsuit, that issued lawsuit, to the tenant with a letter. And that letter tells the tenant, by the way, you've been sued. Here's a copy of your lawsuit. Now, we're not going to confuse them to think that they've been served with the lawsuit. So we'll tell them you're not served with the lawsuit, but as soon as we can serve you, legally you will be served, and legally your credit will be impaired, and legally you're going to be on a list with other tenants who are the subject of an eviction action. And at this point in time, it would be wise for you to contact the landlord and make peace with your landlord. We're having a pretty nice percentage of tenants who get our lawsuit, even though they're not legally served, do make amends with their landlord. Maybe the landlord will take something off the rent. Or in a lot of cases, the tenant says, okay, I'm just going to move, which of course is very helpful to the landlord. At least they've got their place back, even if they don't have their rent, and they're not in a situation where they have to wait 1 year. But let's pretend, as in a percentage of the cases, that the tenant has no intentions of paying the rent and doesn't give a damn about being the subject of a lawsuit. So they'll get my letter, they'll get the lawsuit, they know they've been served, but they do absolutely nothing, no communication. So even in that situation, that's a tremendous advantage to our clients. And the reason why it's a tremendous advantage is because at that point, we have a case number. And when the floodgates of lawsuits open on September 1, it goes based on priority. Well, our lawsuits are going to have dates from April, and of course now May. and our lawsuits will go first. So we'll basically be beating the crowd of landlords that are going to be waiting in line for their cases to be heard come September 1. So that's the tact that we've been doing. Obviously, for landlords out there, if your tenants aren't paying you the rent, before getting involved in litigation, try to have a conversation with them, try to enter into a deferment agreement with them where they'll defer it less than a 6-month period of time. But if you're getting no response, or you know for a fact that the tenant is just using this as an excuse, that he's, for example, we have a case where the tenant's on a pension. He's getting Social Security and he's on a pension. There is nothing that affected his financial situation with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. But yet he's saying, I don't have to pay the rent. This is the thought process that our elected officials have given to tenants as they're right now forming rent strikes. You probably read that in the LA Times today. So a bottom line is try to have a conversation with your tenants. But if all else fails, considering if your tenant truly hasn't demonstrated the true reason why he's not paying the rent, let's go forward with serving a 3-day notice. Let's go forward with filing an unlawful detainer. Maybe the case will settle, but at least you'll have priority over other landlords. We're in horrific times for the whole world, but I think it's even worse for landlords who are really looking towards losing their building based on our Politicians Act. So, Manny, I don't know if anybody has any questions, or we have the ability to do that, but if anybody does, I can open it up.
Great content, Dennis. Thank you so much. It was a lot of, and you know, whoever's watching, I mean, Dennis is not here to scare anybody or to be the bad messenger. This is just facts, and he's a professional in the industry who's, you know, breaking down the facts according to, you know, his experience and what the rules are currently creating. And we all hope for, wish for, whatever verb you want to use, for days that will, you know, this whole thing is going to go away and we're all going to go back to the new normal, right? There's one question, Dennis, over here about how many months of prepaid rent can landlord collect today in a residential lease?
And that's a good question. It's on a normal unfurnished house, you're allowed to get the first month's rent and a 2-month security. However, there's an anomaly in the California law that states that you are allowed to get a 2-month security plus 6 months to 1 year advanced rent. It's funny, you can't get 4 months advance rent or 5 months advance rent, but right, you can get 6 months to 1 year advance rent plus a 2-month security. I know there's a lot of landlords out there who are reluctant to rent out a vacant place. They're going to say, gee, the guy's just going to claim pandemic the first month in. I don't recommend that. Make sure that the tenant is in an industry that's really not being affected and has good credit. Get at least your 1 month and 2 month securities, because by the end of that, you'll be pretty close to being able to bring forth an eviction lawsuit. I never gave out my number. If anybody needs me, my toll-free number is 1-800-77-EVICT. That's EVICT. Or my website is evict123.com.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis, for sharing that. I don't think there are other questions about that. You pretty much covered a lot of, you know, pretty much A to Z of what's the tail end of what, you know, you also been going through. One question, not sure if you want to touch that, but about the forbearances, mortgage forbearances. I mean, do you think that's gonna create any kind of impact as well, at least on your end?
I think that there are some of the major institutions are allowing for a forbearance, but you see, there's a difference between a forbearance of a tenant and a forbearance for a landlord with his mortgage payments. So the tenant after 1 year is either going to go away, and you think the landlord's going to chase these people for their rent? The answer is no. But the mortgage company is certainly going to chase the landlord, because all they're going to do is they're going to file a notice of default when the landlord doesn't have the money in 1 year. If the landlord's losing the rent, where is he going to get the mortgage payment in 1 year? The tenant's not going to come up with it after 1 year. That's a joke. So basically, the landlord's going to have to do something by either refinancing or something to come up with the money, but the rent is going to be lost. You can call it deferred rent. I'm calling it lost rent because that's what it is.
Yeah. Another question is, you probably are familiar with the AB 282. Sorry, the AB
I am
828.
familiar with it.
Yes, and we had, I think the last time was last week. We had Dan Nicholson, the executive director of EGLA over here in Los Angeles, the apartment association. Great guy. So they're doing their best as well. Can you share a little bit about that, the 828?
Yes, it's a totally socialistic, communistic assembly bill by an assemblyman by the name of Ting, who basically wants to commandeer every income property owners in the state of California. If you're going to bring forth an eviction action, even if the tenant doesn't fight you, you have to have a hearing in front of a judge where a judge can arbitrarily determine that you're only entitled to 75% of your rent. This is insanity on steroids, and I'm hoping that this doesn't pass. If it does pass, I can tell you that in the first day that it passes, it will be constitutionally challenged. There is no basis for this assembly bill, and these people really need to rot in hell.
Well, we definitely have an opinion about it. That's for sure.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's okay.
Or should I tell you what I really think?
That's for a different show. One last question, Dennis. Then I'm going to let you go because it is Friday and we have happy hour later on. Is there a way to report missing rent to credit bureaus, just like if someone don't pay car payments, etc.?
Yes, there is. You can do those through the Apartment Owners Association. They have it, or through any of the associations. But again, if the city of Los Angeles is stating that you have 1 year to pay back this deferred rent, you can't report it as late rent because technically it's not late until the 1 year goes by. So, but that's what the story is. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. Anybody needs me, give me a call. And Manny, thanks for the opportunity to say hello to your guests.
Yeah, thank you so much. Dennis Black, eviction attorney, and feel free to reach out to Dennis if there's anything that you might need. He's a pro, and he definitely knows his game. So Dennis, thank you so much for your time as well. And thanks everybody for watching us. Great meeting today with the LA Chargers and Dennis Black, eviction attorney. So thanks again, everybody. Take care, stay safe, and stay busy and healthy. See you next time. Happy Friday.